Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The important news and editorial that would be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 1st of August. The first important news, that is draft National Deep Technology Startup Policy, something very important for India. The government has been putting their impetus in terms of making an ambience where startup policy should flourish and have a holistic development. Second, that is ISRO rocket debris found in Australian shore. We'll see the details. Third, center allow relief to the sugar cooperative. This will be something providing relief to a lot more farmers, and this was even anticipated, actually was conceptualized in 2015 union budget, and this budget called for a more regulatory to that. Now the second last, that is India's core sector growth touches highest mark in the past couple of months. Post 5th month we have seen that the performance is on higher side. And the last is an editorial recalibrating India's clean cooking strategy. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming examination. So without any further ado, let's get started with the discussion part. And before I begin, if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do hit that like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is the draft National Deep Tech Startup Policies. Something important for General Studies Paper 2, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementations. So recently the central government has released a draft National Deep Technology Startup Policy. This is something very important that will foster the part of startup in the country and providing them the way forward, that how the companies that is mushrooming and even for the niche companies, they can actually perform, right? So a deep tech startup involve early stage technology based on scientific and engineering investment who are yet to develop for any commercial application. So this is something, a seeded company that will further grow and flourish when provided with the right finance and right government policies. Now, this particular draft policy, that is the National Deep Startup Policy, this was shaped by the National Consortium and the working group set up by the Prime Minister, Science and Tech Innovation and Advisory Council, जिसे PM stack भी कहते हैं. This was received input from 200 stakeholders and within and outside with regards to the deep tech startup ecosystem. So this is a well planned, well structured coming from the expert. Definitely we can expect that this policy in a longer run will provide a better roadmap for the tech startup in the country. Now focus areas की अगर बात करें, there are some specific areas that is there, but the policy outline 9 important program, कुछ ऐसे 9 important program outline किए गए जो कि specifically इंडिया के capabilities को बढ़ाने में और global competitiveness को बढ़ाने में मदद करेंगे. So these 9 areas include, first is the part nurturing research, development and innovation. Second is strengthening the intellectual property regime, or better called as IPR, intellectual property rights. Third is facilitating access to funding. See, finance is again very important. When it comes to financial part, this has to be there. Without this, the company lacks and they cannot grow further. So this is one important component. Now the other is enabling shared infrastructure and resources sharing. This is among the country which has actually performed well can have their sharing experience the same part of the region. Creating and conductive regulations, standard and certification. This is what has to come from the government of India. Again, there is attracting human resources, initiating the capacity building, promoting procurement and adaptations, ensuring policies and program linkages, and last but not the least is sustaining the deep tech startups. So these are the 9 important areas upon which the complete policy will focus upon. Now, aim क्या है government की? What are the rationale? What is the aim? What is the target? What is the vision? So the policy seeks to ensure India's positions in the global deep tech value chain in areas such as semiconductor. India has been looking forward with semiconductor. अभी recent में semicon conclave हुई है basically in Gandhinagar, so that is one you can relate with that. Other is artificial intelligence and space technology. So these are the things that is actually working out. The policy completes and add values to the existing startup policies, program and incentives by fostering the ecosystem for deep tech startup thriving and addressing the part of unique and complex challenges. Now, the policy also seeks to find approaches to provide finances to deep tech startup and even call for permits such as and before the market and their products or ideas. The policy aims to simplify the intellectual property regime such as startup, ease the regulatory requirement, propose measures to promote these funds. So these are some of the main aim and the rationale behind the policy. Now moving ahead with other news, that is ISRO rocket debris on Australia show. You can find this news in the explain section of the Indian Express, something important for general studies paper 3. That is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. There can be a direct question in the prelims examination. How does that debris work? A specific location also becomes significant. So the Australian Space Agency, or you can call it ASA, so they have revealed a mysterious object that was washed upon on Australian beach recently, most likely the third stage debris that was recently launched by the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. So this is the actual debris that the official image released by the Australian Space Agency. Now they have said that it has stored the debris for working with ISRO, who will provide further communications to determine the next stages, including considering the obligations under the United Nations space treaties. So there are some treaties that every country has to follow when it's come to the part of launching and other steps. Now ISRO has agreed for assessment. Definitely we are the country will be aligning and the part of making a cooperation when it comes to the part of assessment. So ISRO has agreed with the assessment, saying that the debris could be one of the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle rockets. And ISRO has agreed with the assessment, saying that the debris could be one of the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle or rockets. That was recently conducted by ISRO as a launch. And ISRO officially said that the agency was still to decide on further course of action. Now, are such incidents common or normal? This is what the big question is, and specifically relevant for prelims also. As a general curiosity, you should know. So junks from the space object falling to the earth is not heard of. I mean, it's not frequent as such, but sometime it happens. Most of the incidents involve relatively smaller fragments from the rocket that survive frictional from the atmosphere. They're usually no big news, and almost several times the junks fall into the specific ocean, and even that is little dangerous to human population. It's not something that is impacting a human population or even for a marine populations. Now, recent में अगर बात करें ऐसे इंसिडेंट की जो ऑलरेडी हुई है, you have seen that the chunks of 25 ton of Chinese rocket fell into the Indian Ocean in May 2021, and the other famous case was there of Skylab space station, that the processors for the current operational interspace station was distinguished in 1979. So it is not often that this occasion take place. Sometimes here and there it take place, and if it is taking place, the level and the part is very minimal. Now, are debris dangerous? This is something that we need to ponder upon. So the threat to the life and the property for the part of the falling debris is negligible. किसी भी तरह से कोई damage नहीं, neither to human nor to the marine populations, right? And even falling off into the oceans is most likely that 70% of the Earth's surface ocean, large object can be threat to marine life and the source for the population, right? So pollutions हो सकती हैं, कुछ ऐसे बड़े objects अगर होते हैं तो marine populations में भी damages कई हद तक देखी जा सकती है, but if it is not very common, we cannot expect that this has to happen. Now, there's no record for incidents falling object causing appreciable damage anywhere in the earth. This has not happened yet, and where they have dropped over the land, so far it has been uninhabited areas only, because scientists take care of all these things. If something is happening, it does not impact any habitat region. Now moving ahead, Center allow relief to sugar cooperatives over excess payment, something important for General Studies paper 3, that is issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies, MSP, public distribution system. This particular news is also important for General Studies paper 2, where government policies and intervention are mentioned in the syllabus. Now, the Finance Ministry has notified the rule for the cooperative mills to claim the sugarcane price payment made from the farmer in excess of the government statutory minimum price and business expenditure. The move is expected to provide mills with the relief of almost 10,000 crore rupees, जो कि tax के तौर पे pending है, and even the litigants in respect to the payment made before 2015-16 financial year. तो उसके बाद की जितनी भी amount pending है, government will be providing the part of exemptions so that they can further expedite their business. The cooperative factories, particularly in Maharashtra, as usually were farmer for the sugarcane, and more the center SP now have a fair and remunerative prices. So for sugarcane we have fair and remunerative prices. For other cereals, wheat and rices, we have MSP, that is minimum support price. I think most of you must be aware of all these things. Now, some exemptions that was there by the government of India, specifically by the Ministry of Finance. तो यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ने बेसिकली कहा है जो टैक्स लिटिगेंट्स हैं and the meal claiming excess payment of the business will be taken into consideration in income tax department. On the other hand, has disallowed the treaties for the excess price for the sugarcane over the SMP, and appropriate distributions of the profit is not allowed as a deductions. Now there's an amendment to Finance Act. And what is the amendment? See, in 2015-16, the Union Budget has introduced amendment to the Finance Act. So this was the year 2015 and 16, right? So they provided excess cane payment that provided for the cooperative and allowed the deductions for computing their business income. So यहाँ पे deductions दी गई ताकि वो आगे बढ़ सके. And even they should have most profit out of it. However, some deduction was made applicable only prosperity for 2016-17 assessment year. Now, it does not end, and the litigations regarding the previous assessment year, इस बार के budget में 2023-24 में they have sought concluding the matter to extend the benefit of deductions from any financial year 2015 and 16. It was done by amending section 155 of the Income Tax Act through the assertion of the subsection 90. So this is how the changes was incorporated by the Ministry of Finance. Moving ahead. As India's core sector growth touches high mark, something important for General Studies paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So according to the latest data that was released by the Ministry of Commerce, it says that India's 8 core sector posted a growth of 8.2%. Now 8.2% की अगर बात करें growth की, India's 8 sectors, if you see the part of the core sector that include first, that is coal, crude, steel, cement, electricity, fertilizer, refinery products and natural gas. You should learn all this sector. Sometimes they ask which sector and then the core sector. और आपको ये arrangement भी देखनी है कि किसकी performance कैसी है, which is the best performing and which is the least performing. This is again important for examination. This is the kind of homework that you can do. Now, earlier growth data की अगर बात करें, the core sector for the May have revised up to 5.0% from 4.3%. This is the progress. And the June, basically in the June, the core sector was 13.1%, and thanks to the favorable base effect. In April-June, the core sector growth was 5.8%, down to 13.9% for the first 3 months in 2022 and 23. The sharp improvement in the performance last was done to improve the output. और अगर बात करें 6 core sectors की, among them were only fertilizers, cement, that has growing at the slower pace, and in June compared to May and year-on-year basis. So these two are the sector that has not performed well as designed. Sector performance की अगर बात करें, electricity production up to 3.3% in June compared to the growth of 0.8% in May. और coal की बात करें, this has increased to 9.8%. So this is some data. If you are able to recall, it's well and good. Now, if you're writing in mains paper also, this will be related to that for this particular year mains only, because the data might change for next year. The sector post high growth was there. To output jumped to 2.9%, and for May it was 10.0%, right? And the 8 core industries make the part of the progress which contribute 40% of the total weight on the IIP, that is Index on Industrial Productions. Now moving ahead with the editorial of the day, that is recalibrating India's clean cooking strategy, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So what are the issues under this editorial that I'll be discussing? So first, the theme and the focus is about the clean cooking strategy. We'll be looking into the issue that the LPG story has to say, the nominal subsidies under the PMUY, diversity in India clean cooking, and the way forward. Now if you look at India's cooking strategy or the clean cooking pathway or the roadmap that the government has come up with, so this strategy aims to address the issue of indoor pollution actually, and associated with the health impact by promoting the adaptations of clean cooking technology and the fuel. There had been a lot more changes, and even Government of India has come up with all important policies that call for the reductions and even promoting the clean energy. So over past 15 years, Government of India has attempted to replicate the success of liquefied petroleum gas, and adaptation has been seen in urban household, in poorer and the rural household. The Gramin Vitra Yojana, that is started in 2009, has helped to grow the rural distributions from 18% to 60%. This is again a big jump, with a total of LPG distribution base today, right? The ambitious Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, that is PMUY, has provided more than 9.5 crore households with LPG connections since 2016. Now, what is the LPG journey and how it has performed actually? According to the Indian Residential Energy Consumption, it conducted to the Council. There's some studies that was by the Council for Energy Resources and Water. The share for the Indian household using the LPG primary cooking oil has risen to 71% in 2020 and 33% in 2021. So this are the part of the changes that we have come across. And it was clear indications that the Indian household wanted to adopt the clean cooking solutions, and policy could overcome the preference of the financial barriers. However, the global events की बात करें that has unfolded in COVID-19 pandemic, things has become worse, and even during the Russia-Ukraine crisis, where most of the oil is being imported, तो वहाँ पे भी price surge देखी गई है. Where that situation and even has continued not well. और बहुत ज़्यादा LPG में भी surge देखी गई. Even the government has reduced the part of and completely withdrawn the part of subsidies that was there. तो ultimately कहीं ना कहीं जो individual household हैं उनके pockets पे खर्च ज़्यादा बढ़ी है. Now, nominal subsidies under PMUY, अगर बात करें प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना की, so there's a minimal of 200 rupees that is provided to the consumers to refill their gases. And the refilling rates for the non-PM consumer has slowly declined to 40% that have chosen for 2 or less refill in a year. So if price will increase, definitely the people will not be able to afford it and they will reduce their consumption pattern. These outcomes suggest that despite the significant efforts, home delivery distributions channel have remained more budgetary outlay and needs the subsidies for the poor, and LPG can avail the other part of the health benefits as well. Now, diversity in the clean cooking, how it can help, it has a lot many benefits. Initially, it can cost to companies, but ultimately the end result, the beneficiary will be the citizen. So India's cooking policy must actively have a public strategy that adaptations for the clean energies technology shift from the LPG strategies only. For example, electric cooking, including the induction cooktop, significantly offset need for the flame cooking. With nearly 100% access, the electricity connections for the rural household can have specific cooking needs to the electricity. The CWC study find that the high tariff for 8 kg a unit for the electricity cooking would be cheaper and then the cooking for LPG in the today's price. Now, how we can achieve the part of the clean energy? What should be the government roadmap and the way forward? So first, government required a targeted support to trim the part of manufacturing, embrace the efficiency and even needs for the household. The displacement of chulhas by cooking, chulhas को हटा करके e-cooking would be something that would be climate friendly as well. And the newly launched carbon market, India has actually monetized this with the emissions with the help of the capital market by the poor communities to adopt the cooking. The debate needs to be there where LPG supplies alone for the financing and business model. that would need the cooking transitions and even the clean energy and air benefits through the booting of the solutions. So we need a feasible part, we need a sustainable solutions which is not costing a high to the people, at the same time calling for something that is some part of the sustainable development and clean energy. Government need to invest more to ensure that the people are not paying from their end. Now moving ahead for the MCQs questions. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice, B21 radial. आपको बताना है कौन सा statement correct है. It was the first new American bombardier, more than 30-year-old. It takes the name for 1942 Deloitte Ray. So do you go for the correct option? Second is about the Akash mission. This is 25 km, can simultaneously engage multiple radio with. It was inducted in 2014 and the Air Force to the Army. So these are some of the questions that will be also relevant for the CAPF examination. If you are appearing for that, this type of question related to security and agreement will definitely help you. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any queries about admissions, test series, courses, you can reach out to us. We'll help you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.